All right, like, share, subscribe. Cash App $ Winston Bobby. So this article is actually a few days old here. I'm finally able to get some time to put it out or whatever. But how could this happen? And I thought about it like all day, like last night and then today, about how it possibly could happen. Okay, there's a lot of this has to do with connections and relationships. But anyway, this brother named Ian Roberts. Now, he was supposed to be a so-called doctor. And I was pulling up, I saw this article a couple of times on the, I believe, Fox News, and then another site called The Bottom Line News with Alan Taylor. All right, shout out to Alan Taylor. And I actually did like a web search about this guy. And it turned, well, I'll tell you, because he got some credentials that turned out then he doesn't even have the credentials. And that's probably the good thing about social media and the web now, that actually now, we are finding out the truth about things, particularly now with AI and things like that nature. Okay. So all you guys know that, they have this thing with the extradition thing with Donald Trump. Okay. He's really, really hard on this thing. Okay. And it's one of the things, if you don't have the credentials, you can't be here. All right. And I don't believe that I think that there is some discrimination, but it ain't just Hispanics. Okay. Actually, this brother was from Ghana, and he was turned out the superintendent of the public school system in Des Moines, Iowa. Okay. Which is the largest city in Iowa, which only has about 600,000 people. I don't really see what's big about it, but it's not no little place either. But it is what it is. So I discovered that last week that he was forced to resign from his position as the superintendent of the public school, his position, the superintendent of the public school system out there. Okay, so you're wondering how that this guy turned out that he didn't have the credentials here to stay in America. So, he turned out, in so many words, to be an illegal alien. And I saw a couple of interviews or whatever, okay, or reports about this. Turned out, that he put a work visa in 1999, okay? He put a work visa in, and he'd already, and school visa, to go to school and to work here and things of that nature. And the work visa is good as long as, you're here for that purpose and so forth. Okay. So, he was able to come here, work and go to school. I understand that he got a degree from, I believe it was, Morgan State in Baltimore, Maryland. All right. HBCU out there to do that. And apparently over the years that he had worked his way up through the school system to be a superintendent. Now, we have a conflicting report to find out that he got his degree actually in 1998. So I'm thinking, what happened during that time? Okay, so let's just say if he got his degree in 1998, that means he probably had to go to school probably, I want to say 1993 or 1994 to get his degree, okay, and so forth. So all this time, nobody really paid attention. And I guess apparently these work visas go, I don't know, they go either 25 years or they probably go unchecked for that long up until now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure about how long the work visas are, but they're usually or school visas for a certain amount of time. I thought it was usually like 5 years and that kind of thing. So, but it seemed like to me that when he first started going to school, not saying that when he had got the visa, because apparently, he was able to find a way to come here, probably from a temporary visa, okay? Because usually when you visit another country, you have a visa for a certain amount of days, 2 weeks to 30 days, okay? That's just from my experience of going overseas in the military. Probably was able to get accepted, okay? Maybe stay with somebody, and I'm just saying this allegedly. Maybe have a family member, maybe around the DC or Baltimore area, okay? And he went undercover. The school didn't check, okay? Was able to come here, and hide, why he was able to hide, get his degree, and then put in for a school or work visa or whatever. Okay, I don't know if it's the thing where he was, I don't know, that his cover was about to be blown or what, but it went unchecked all this time until now. So I guess up until now, with this new, H-1 visa and things, and maybe the government's able to track a lot of this stuff now, because I guess they're putting systems or whatever to alert people, for all this time. I guess it became, one of the things that I guess the government had did, a piss poor job or whatever, trying to track, but they're trying to stop a lot of that, okay? A lot of government waste and, that kind of thing, people that are not supposed to be here, but, there's a lot of people that are not supposed to be here, and this man was one of them. He was able, to find a way to, I guess, to kind of ride off the system. If they don't check, naturally some people are probably going to continue to, to stay in that kind of thing, to see how long that they can, milk the system. All right. So I think that's what happened there. He was alerted, my understanding, back in March of 2024, they had said, look, you know what? You got a final notice to leave here. All right. So I think that he's been warned at least one time before, okay, and ignored it. Okay. And then come to find out, I guess they were trying to get him out probably in the spring or whatever. Okay. And he wouldn't leave. Maybe he was getting some legal action to fight it. And then this is where he's led to now. I understand that he's going through legal action right now to, figure out a way to stay or to get it fixed to where he can get his American citizenship, okay? I want to say that partially it was his fault, but, you figured if he would have got here and worked his way all the way up to a superintendent, you would think that at least, I don't know, like 5 years after he got here, particularly after he put in for his work visa in 1999, he should have followed up if he really wanted to be an American citizen and put in his citizenship, and then he could use his degree and said all the stuff that he done and things like that. Okay, but he wasn't on top of this stuff, and I think that was very irresponsible in his behalf, particularly him being somebody of public trust. And there's a lot of people I saw that were protesting against that thing and all that, and feel as though he should stay. So I'm thinking now, with him going through legal action, they gave him a certain amount of time to leave. Okay, they're trying to, I guess, to make a decision if, should he stay here or not. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a very, very complex situation. But really, in the end of the day, if you are in this situation, okay, it's going to be really your responsibility when you come here, okay, to apply for the certain credentials and that kind of thing. If you do the H-1 or whatever, you're going to have a certain amount of time and to follow up on that thing or whatever until you can get your citizenship. And in the meantime, you do what you got to do. It's your responsibility, because the government don't care, okay, because they look at, right now with the administration we have, it's about dollars and cents. It's about numbers and things to that nature, where they got to pay all these people all this money and all that, all right, for housing and food and things of that nature. And you see what they're dealing with right now with Section 8 and then the food stamps and all that. So it seems like they're trying to stop a lot of that. But they're not going to be able to stop all of it. But this is a high-profile, very complex situation here, okay? And like I say, he's not the only one. But anyway, let me know what you think. I maybe gave you my opinion on how all this happened and things like that. But yeah, you got to really be on your top of your stuff in the end of the day, because this administration is very, very serious. You see what's going on with all these government layoffs amid the government shutdown. So, and this is, I think, there's something that President Trump had in mind for quite some time, probably like 10 years. All right, I'm out. Once again, let me know what you think, and more content coming.